The technical drawing pen moves across heavy vellum while Seattle sits gray behind the glass. The danger is not the height of the tower yet. It is the quiet arrogance of believing your hand can shape the future without being changed by it. Most people think creation begins with inspiration. But in real work, the dream arrives wearing weight. It shows up as a deadline, a ruler, a trembling line, a room too silent, and the knowledge that someone may one day live inside the decision you make this morning. The lead architect leans over the final blueprint, listening to the scratch of the nib. Every line says, "This will stand when you are gone." So what does a disciplined person do when the work is bigger than the ego that made it? Zanshin begins here, not in the finished skyline, but in the next exact line. The lead architect has been in the studio since before most of Seattle opened its eyes. Outside the glass, the city is softened by the overcast morning. The water is a dull sheet of metal. The cranes look almost still from this height, though he knows they are moving. Somewhere below, delivery trucks are grinding through wet streets. Elevators are waking up inside towers. Coffee shops are filling with people who will never know the name of the hand currently hovering over a line that may change the shape of their commute, their office window, their view of the sky. Inside the studio, there is only vellum, steel, glass, and the scratch of the technical drawing pen. That sound should comfort him. It has followed him for decades. Before the awards, before the interviews, before the renderings became polished enough to impress investors, there was only that sound, nib against paper, pressure through the fingers, ink obeying the smallest movement of the wrist. He trusts it more than the computer model on the screen beside him. The model can rotate, glow, simulate sunlight, impress a room full of people who speak in square footage and projected value. But the pen tells the truth faster. It reveals hesitation immediately. And this morning, his hesitation is visible. The line is not wrong. That is what bothers him. A wrong line can be corrected. A lazy line can be redrawn. A careless measurement can be checked, marked, fixed, and forgotten after lunch. But this line is technically right and still feels unfinished inside him. It is part of the final skyscraper blueprint, one of those quiet structural decisions that will be buried beneath future beauty. Nobody will point to it from the sidewalk. Nobody will walk past the finished building and say, "There, that was the morning he chose restraint." But he will know. His hand tightens around the technical drawing pen. The nib touches the vellum, lifts, touches again. A small dot of ink gathers where he paused too long. There is a particular shame in being experienced and still afraid. Young architects fear being exposed as amateurs. Older architects fear something stranger, that their best work may still not be enough to answer time. He has learned how to stand in front of clients. He has learned how to defend a concept without sounding defensive. He has learned when to let engineers win, when to let budget discipline the imagination, when to cut a beautiful idea because beauty without integrity is just vanity wearing better clothes. But he has never learned how to make peace with permanence. The skyscraper will outlive him if it is built well. That thought should feel like legacy. Instead, this morning, it sits in his chest like a stone. People like to talk about leaving a mark on the world, but they rarely ask what kind of mark. A building is not a quote on a wall. It is not a dream kept safely inside a notebook. It becomes weathered concrete, steel under stress, glass taking rain, elevators carrying tired people up and down for years. It becomes shade over a sidewalk. It becomes rent. It becomes a lobby where someone gets bad news on a phone call. It becomes an office where someone stays too late and looks out over Puget Sound wondering what happened to their life. The architect knows this. That is why his hand will not rush. Still, the ego wants something from the blueprint. It wants evidence. It wants a signature hidden in the skyline. It wants a line bold enough that future critics might recognize his mind behind it. He hates admitting that. He has spent years teaching younger designers to serve the work, not themselves. He has said the sentence in conference rooms. He has written versions of it in essays. He has nodded solemnly when other architects spoke of humility. Yet here, alone, with gray morning pressing against the glass, he feels the old hunger return. Make it unforgettable. Make it yours. Make it so they know. The pen rests between his fingers, heavier than it should be. That is the confrontation in craftsmanship. It rarely arrives with noise. It does not kick open the door. It waits inside a small decision, where nobody can see whether the hand is serving the work or feeding the self. The careless person fails because he is not paying attention. The vain person fails because he is paying attention to the wrong thing. Zanshin demands something colder and cleaner than inspiration. It asks the architect to stay aware after the excitement of the idea has faded. To remain present when the room is quiet, when the praise is not there, When the drawing is almost done and the mind begins to drift toward how the finished thing will make him feel. The technical drawing pen does not care about his reputation. The vellum does not soften because he is tired. The line accepts only the pressure given to it. He looks again at the blueprint. There is the central spine of the tower, the rhythm of the facade, the adjustment made to catch a northern wash of light without turning the interior into a glass furnace in summer. There are marks so small they would mean nothing to a stranger and everything to the people who must build from them. A fraction of an inch here. A recalculated angle there. The quiet discipline of not pretending that vision can replace accuracy. His phone lights up on the edge of the drafting table. A message from the developer. Another from a junior designer. A reminder about the final presentation. Each one pulls at the future. Each one invites him to leave the present line and enter the noise around the work. He does not pick it up. Not because he is calm. He is not calm. His jaw is tight. His shoulders hurt. He can feel the stale taste of coffee behind his teeth. He can feel the uncomfortable truth that part of him wants to finish fast just to escape the pressure of caring this much. That urge is the shadow. The weight of creating something that outlives its creator can make a person noble, but it can also make him theatrical. He can start imagining history instead of drawing the next line. He can become so moved by the meaning of the work that he neglects the measurement. He can hide vanity under the language of legacy. He can confuse heaviness with depth. The scratch of the nib brings him back. A small sound. Almost nothing. But in the studio, it becomes a command. He lowers his breathing without making a ceremony of it. His eyes return to the intersection where the line must meet the grid. He checks the reference mark. He checks it again, not because he distrusts himself, but because attention is respect made visible. The city beyond the glass can wait. The imagined future can wait. Even the fear of being forgotten can wait. The work is here. The pen is here. The vellum is here. And for a man tempted to turn a building into proof of his own importance, the most disciplined act may be brutally simple. Draw the line that serves the structure, even if nobody ever knows he chose it. Training begins before the building rises. It begins while the technical drawing pen is still hovering above the vellum, and the architect realizes his hand is no longer serving the line. It is serving the fear behind the line. So he stops. Not dramatically. No speech. No sudden revelation. Just a small refusal to let momentum become master. He lifts the nib from the page before it can drag his anxiety into ink. That first pause is almost invisible, but it matters. His wrist relaxes by a fraction. His fingers loosen around the barrel of the pen. The dot of ink where he hesitated is still there, a tiny black confession on the paper, but he does not rush to cover it. He lets it be seen. That is the first discipline of craftsmanship. Do not hide from the mark that tells you the truth. The old impulse wants speed now. It wants him to move on, finish the sheet, answer the messages, walk into the final presentation with the smooth face of a man who was never shaken. But Zanshin does not allow that kind of false cleanliness. Full attention begins when he stops performing calm and returns to the actual room. He places the pen down parallel to the lower edge of the blueprint. A careless man drops his tools anywhere. A distracted man buries them under paper, coffee, and excuses. But he sets the pen down with care, because the way he treats the tool is the way he treats the work. Its black body rests beside the scale ruler. The metal tip catches a thin strip of gray light from the Seattle morning. For one breath, the pen is no longer an instrument of ambition. It is a reminder, precision is not owned. It is borrowed, moment by moment, from attention. He stands back from the drafting table. The chair rolls softly behind him. His knees complain from hours of sitting. He notices that, too. The body keeps records the mind tries to ignore. Tight shoulders. Shallow breath. A thumb stiff from gripping too hard. He does not turn those sensations into a personal tragedy. He does not romanticize exhaustion. He just reads them like field notes. Then he puts both feet flat on the studio floor. That small act pulls him out of the imagined future. Not the skyline. Not the magazine cover. Not the opening ceremony years from now with clean suits and polite applause. Here. Glass studio. Overcast morning. Heavy vellum. Technical drawing pen. The scratch of the nib waiting to begin again. The shadow weakens when the present becomes specific. He looks toward the glass wall, but not to admire the city. He uses the city to scale himself down. Seattle is still moving without consulting his ego. The ferries will cross the water whether his name is remembered or not. Rain will dry on windows. People will eat lunch in buildings designed by men and women whose names they never learn. This does not insult him. It corrects him: a structure that outlives its creator must not be built from the creator's hunger to be seen. He turns back to the blueprint and chooses one area only. Not the whole tower. Not the full weight of legacy. Not every future tenant, storm, inspection, budget meeting, and criticism. Just the junction where the vertical load meets the rhythm of the facade. He shrinks the battle until it becomes honest enough to handle. His left hand flattens the vellum so it will not shift. His right hand reaches for the pen again, slower this time. Before the nib touches down, he checks the reference point with the scale ruler. He does not check it to soothe fear. He checks it because the line deserves not to be guessed. The mind wants to turn responsibility into fog. Craft turns it back into a measurement. He draws one clean test line on a scrap edge of vellum. The nib scratches, and the sound is rougher than he expected. There is a small grain in the paper. A resistance. He adjusts the angle of his wrist. The next scratch is cleaner. The pen does not glide like a fantasy. It has drag. It asks for pressure, but not force. It asks for confidence, but punishes arrogance. That is why tools are honest teachers. The architect breathes out through his nose and lets the exhale finish before he draws the real line. It is not a breathing technique he would announce to anyone. It is just enough space between impulse and action. Enough to keep the fear of being forgotten from pressing down through his fingertips. The nib touches the vellum. Scratch. The line advances. Not fast. Not timid. It crosses the page with the narrow authority of something that has been checked, felt, and chosen. Halfway through, he notices the old hunger trying to return. Make it more dramatic. Push the gesture. Leave something they will recognize as yours. The thought rises like weather against the glass. He does not argue with it. He lets the thought pass while his hand keeps its duty to the line. That is another form of training. Not every inner voice deserves a meeting. Some only need to be noticed and left outside the room. When the line is complete, he does not admire it right away. Admiration can be another distraction, especially when it arrives too soon. He caps the pen. He waits one breath for the ink to settle. Then he checks the intersection. He compares it with the structural note. He finds one small adjustment needed near the edge. No one would notice at first glance. That is exactly why he must. He takes out a correction blade, not with irritation, but with respect. The error is not an enemy. It is a request for more attention. His hand scrapes lightly at the vellum. The sound changes from scratch to whisper. A small curl of paper lifts away. He brushes it aside with the back of one finger, careful not to smear the ink. The work becomes smaller again. A scrape. A breath. A corrected edge. A second line drawn with less self inside it. This is how the architect trains inside the pressure of permanence. He does not solve mortality. He does not defeat the ache of knowing the building may stand long after his hands are gone. He simply refuses to let that ache distort the next decision. The phone lights up again. He sees it in the corner of his eye and turns it face down without reading the message. Not forever. Just for this line. Just for this sheet. Just until the work in front of him has received the kind of attention he would want from anyone building something his own family might one day enter. That thought steadies him more than legacy ever did. Someone will lean against a railing he approved. Someone will ride an elevator through a core he helped shape. Someone will sit near a window whose light was decided here, on this gray morning, by a man alone with vellum and a pen. So he returns to the ritual. Set the ruler. Feel the paper. Check the mark. Lower the breath. Draw only what serves. Correct without shame. Continue without vanity. The technical drawing pen scratches again, and this time the sound does not accuse him. It brings him back. By mid-morning, the studio has not become peaceful. The glass still holds the same gray Seattle light. Rain has begun to gather in small beads against the windows, blurring the cranes into long, skeletal shapes. The phone has not stopped pulling at the edge of his attention. The final presentation is still waiting. The skyscraper is still a promise too large to fit inside one man's chest. Nothing outside him has been solved. But the room has changed because his relationship to the room has changed. The drafting table no longer feels like a courtroom. The vellum no longer looks like evidence against him. The technical drawing pen sits near his right hand, capped, quiet, almost ordinary. A few hours ago, it felt like a weapon pointed at his own legacy. Now it feels like what it has always been, a tool that asks for honesty in very small increments. He studies the corrected line again. It is not spectacular. It will not make anyone in the presentation sit forward. It will not appear in a glossy rendering. It will not become the detail young architects screenshot and send to each other as proof of genius. In the finished tower, this decision will disappear into the strength of the whole thing. That is exactly what makes it clean. Some work is meant to vanish into usefulness. The architect feels the old ache when he thinks that. It does not leave him. He is still a man who wants his life to mean something. He still wants the building to carry a trace of his care after his hands are gone. He still feels the private sting of knowing that time takes the maker and leaves the made thing standing in weather. But the ache has lost the right to steer his fingers. He moves through the blueprint with a different pace now. Slower, but not sluggish. Careful, but not afraid. His hand returns to the pen without clenching it. The nib touches the vellum, and the scratch rises again in the studio. This time, he hears more than pressure. He hears sequence. Line, pause, check. Line, pause, check. The rhythm is not glamorous, but it is dependable. It gives the morning a spine. Each small movement keeps him from floating away into imagined applause or imagined regret. He does not need to feel noble. He needs to remain accurate. A junior architect knocks lightly on the glass door and steps in holding a stack of revised notes. She starts to apologize for interrupting, already bracing for the kind of sharpness senior people sometimes mistake for standards. He almost gives it to her. The old reflex is there: protect the pressure by spreading it. Make the room feel how heavy the morning is. Use authority to discharge discomfort. He feels the sentence forming before he says it, a cold little correction about timing, preparation, urgency. His fingers move to the pen cap. That small contact stops him. The pen has become more than an instrument now. It is a reminder of the line between command and reaction. He looks down at it for half a second, just long enough to return to the same discipline he used on the page. Do not drag fear into ink. Do not drag pressure into speech. He takes the notes from her and says, "Show me the change." No ceremony. No performance of patience. Just a cleaner choice than the one his ego had prepared. They stand together over the vellum. She points to a conflict between a mechanical adjustment and the light well near the upper floors. The problem is real. It will cost them time. It may force a revision he does not want to make. For a moment, the weight returns. A building that outlives its creator can also outlive his mistakes. The thought lands hard. He feels it behind his ribs. But now it does not scatter him. He asks one question, then another. He makes her slow down and walk through the issue precisely. Not to intimidate her. To protect the work from panic. The rain thickens against the glass. Below them, Seattle keeps moving. Cars slip through wet intersections. A ferry cuts a pale line across the water. Somewhere in the city, people are entering buildings without thinking about the hidden care that holds the ceiling above them. That used to make him feel unseen. Now it feels almost sacred in its plainness. The best structure does not demand gratitude every time it shelters someone. It simply holds. He uncaps the technical drawing pen and marks the revision area with a small, controlled circle. The scratch of the nib is soft but decisive. He writes a note in the margin, not to prove brilliance, but to make the next person's work clearer. The junior architect watches his hand. He realizes, with a quiet discomfort, that she may learn more from how he handles this problem than from any lecture he has ever given about design. So he lets the process be visible. He checks the measurement again. He admits the first solution may not hold. He asks for the structural overlay. He removes one elegant gesture from the drawing because it now serves the image more than the building. That cut hurts. He wanted that gesture. He liked it. There was a part of him that had already imagined it catching the light in photographs, a clean vertical signature rising through the facade. But once the conflict is clear, keeping it would be vanity disguised as vision. The pen pauses. Then he draws the revised line. Less dramatic. More truthful. The tower on the page becomes quieter. Stronger, too. Not because all risk has disappeared, but because one unnecessary performance has been removed from its bones. That is the transformation, not a man becoming free of ego, but a craftsman catching ego early enough that it does less damage. He looks at the blueprint and feels no victory. Victory would be too loud for this room. What he feels is steadiness. A sense that the work has moved 1 inch closer to integrity. A sense that his name matters less than he feared and his attention matters more than he realized. The junior architect leaves with the marked notes. The door closes. The studio returns to the scratch of rain and distant traffic. He remains at the table. The technical drawing pen rests in his hand again, but now it is no longer asking him to draw dreams from thin air. It is asking him to give the dream enough discipline to survive contact with gravity, weather, budget, fatigue, and time. He draws the next line. Somewhere in the future, no one will know this moment happened. They will not know about the gray morning, the heavy vellum, the phone turned face down, the line that became less beautiful and more honest. They will only enter the building and trust it without thinking. And maybe that is enough. A masterpiece is not always the part of you that people notice. Sometimes it is the part of you that disappeared so the work could stand. The architect's battlefield is not a battlefield anyone would recognize. It is a glass studio above Seattle. A sheet of heavy vellum. A technical drawing pen resting between tired fingers. A gray morning where the world outside looks quiet, but the future feels loud. And maybe yours looks different. Maybe it is a desk where no one sees how much care you put into the work. Maybe it is a kitchen table where you are trying to make one responsible decision before the day pulls you apart. Maybe it is a project, a promise, a child, a repair, a sentence, a choice that will matter longer than the mood you are in when you make it. The lesson is not that you must build something grand. The lesson is that whatever you build should not be ruled by your need to be seen. The pen teaches that. It does not reward drama. It does not care about legacy, applause, or fear. It only answers the pressure of the hand. Too much force, and the line loses grace. Too little attention, and the structure loses truth. So today, before you rush the next line of your own life, pause. Set the tool down correctly. Check the mark. Let the ego quiet down before it becomes part of the design. Because the work that outlives you may not carry your name, but it will carry the quality of your attention. Mastery begins when the smallest detail becomes worthy of your full attention.